Asian Development Bank. He started off his career as an associate analyst of technology researcher at UBS Investment Bank in London, following which he has also served as the vice president of equity analysis as Berenberg Bank. He is an alumnus of said business school, Oxford, Georgetown Leadership Seminar, School of Foreign Service, Georgetown University, and a very accomplished has had a very accomplished educational experience in the Lahore University of Management Sciences as well. The basic purpose of this workshop is to introduce you to the stock market and the economics that runs behind it, and the do's and don'ts of operating in it, and how crucial the individual decisions that you make have huge effects. Given Sir Reli's experience, we can't wait to learn from him, and I'm sure this will give us a boost of knowledge on the topic. Over to you, sir.
Great. No, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be talking to you, and it's great to see that there are so many people on this call. And let me tell you, start with my journey, because I think you're all students, and I'm assuming a lot of you are from LUMS. So I think that would perhaps be more aligned with your interest and for what you are looking at, especially both from an academic perspective as well as from a career perspective. So I was in the class of 2003 undergrad. I did a double major in computer science and economics and a minor in maths. At that time, there was no limits on the number of courses you could take. So I used to take the maximum courses I could. And after graduating, I got the Rhodes Scholarship. I worked in Karachi for 1 year. So because I did both computer science and economics, I wasn't really sure what I really wanted to do. And at that time, a few companies were coming over to LUMS for interviews. Computer science, the tech bubble had collapsed. So the jobs in computer science were few and rare and were not paying that much. And finance market was picking up. This was, Musharraf's time. Shaukat Aziz was the prime minister. Pakistan's economy was growing. And I realized that I met this brokerage company, AKT Securities, and I realized that they paid the highest amongst everybody else. At that time, LUMS students still mostly applied for FMCGs, but I didn't want to do that. So amongst the banks, this company paid like 50% more. So I was curious, and I interviewed and I got the job. I worked there for 1 year, and then I realized how important stock market and capital market is. Before that, I had one more interaction with capital markets. Like when I was in A-levels, I read an interview of Mahathir Mohamad. If you remember, in the 90s, in the mid-90s, East Asian economies were considered to be the fastest growing miracle economies. Asian tigers. Nawaz Sharif used to say that we will mimic them and become Asian tigers. And then 96, 97 happened and East Asian market collapsed. And Mahathir Mohamad, who was then the Prime Minister of Malaysia, said that it's all because of George Soros. And it was an Urdu newspaper I was reading. So I was like curious, who is this George Soros? There was no internet at that time. So it wasn't really easy for me to like Google and find out about George Soros. But I became really curious that who is this guy who is powerful enough that the Prime Minister of a country and Prime Minister of a powerful country and a Prime Minister of a country which is considered to be a role model for many other countries, is saying that one person has been able to bring his whole country down. So till that time, we had studied that you need armies to fight the other country. But here the Prime Minister was saying that one person, George Soros, brought his whole country down. So I became really curious, and I thought this guy must be like really powerful. And that introduced me to the capital markets, that I realized that in the capital markets, there is enough power to change the course of a whole country. Because here, in the case of East Asian crisis, was one person, a hedge fund manager, George Soros, who invested against the currencies of those countries and was able to make the whole countries go under, their whole economy go under. So I was always very impressed that capital markets are something very, very powerful. But after I graduated and I got a job in Pakistan, I realized that Pakistani capital markets are also quite powerful, and if nothing else, they pay much better than anything else. And so that started my journey. Then I got the Rhodes Scholarship. So I went to Oxford, went to the business school, actually wearing the jumper of my my alma mater. And then after graduating from Oxford, I got two job offers. One was to join Google as a product manager with Sundar Pichai. He had just joined Google and he was building his team. And the other one was to join UBS. And in UBS, I was working as a product manager in they are unaware both from us as students, they are unaware of the potential of the capital markets as a source of employment. It still pays most amount, it pays far greater than getting a job anywhere else. And um, um, and it's global, so if you're working in Pakistan, you can move abroad. Many of my cohort peers did. So I thought that it is massive untapped potential in Pakistan, and I launched K Trade in 2018. Now it's the number one app with a million downloads. And Lums published a case study on it, which got accepted into Harvard Business School. So it's the only case study on a Pakistani fintech or tech company which is being taught at a Harvard Business School and also at Lums. So that's the journey with K Trade. And I don't know what's the format of this, but I really want to make it interactive. So please do put questions on chat. Yes. Somebody said, Kasim is saying that most people in Pakistan invest in land and real estate only and never in stock exchange. Yes, they don't, of course. If in fact, um, when I ask people that have you ever invested in stocks, तो कहते हैं, नहीं नहीं नहीं, मुझे तो stock market का कुछ नहीं पता, मैंने कभी stocks में invest नहीं किया, मेरे पैसे डूब जाएंगे. When I frame the same question as that, do you want to invest in Habib Bank? Do you want to invest in packages? Do you want to invest in, you know, MCB or Nestle? Then they say, okay, can we become shareholders of this company? The concept is not even there. People think that when they're investing in stocks, they're giving money to somebody on the stock exchange. In reality, that's not the case. And this goes to the next question which somebody is asking, that how does the stock market work? The stock market is, although we all get scared by thinking of it, we think it's something which is very alien to us. It's just a market, it's just a place where savers come, people come, and other people who want to raise money for their startups or their businesses come to raise money. So it's literally a marketplace. Nothing more complicated than that. In fact, that's the origin of the stock market. London Stock Exchange used to be a coffee shop. There was a lane in what is now called the city, so central London, where people used to come and they used to sit, have coffees, and these adventurers used to come over there, like the East India Company, and say, "Oh, I'm doing this voyage to the Philippines or to India and or to Indonesia, and I need to raise money for my voyage." And other people used to give them money for funding it in return for a share of the profits. And later on, those people who have bought those shares would exchange their shares with each other. So that was the origin of the stock market. It was just a coffee shop. And even till to date, that's exactly the function of the stock exchange. It's a place where, if let's say you are all, you want to be entrepreneurs. So when you want to raise money for your company, you have multiple options. One is that you raise money from your friends and family, or B, you go directly to funds, the VC funds, and you approach them, or there's a centralized place where you go there and all the funds come over there and you tell them that, hey, I want to raise money for my startup, this is my idea, this is my business, and I want to raise money. And they say, okay, we'll give you money, and there's a market. That market is the stock exchange. So it's nothing complicated. There in Pakistan, there are 550 companies which are listed. Those are all the large companies you can think of. So all the banks, all the cement companies, um, packages, IGI Insurance or Babar Ali, Engro, Nestle, almost service, Bata, you name it, all your mega brands, the companies which we use, they have over the last 70 years since the creation of the stock market gone to the exchange to reach out to investors and raise capital. So one of the upcoming IPOs which are coming on the stock market, IPO, again a complicated term, might scare you, but it's actually just going to the stock market to reach out to investors to raise money. So a friend of mine, also alumnus, he started his IT company at Lums when he was a year junior to me, and they launched this company which is called Quiz Solution. Now it's one of the prominent IT services business in Germany, and they are now trying to do an IPO. We are helping them do the IPO. So they are coming in January. They'll go to the stock exchange. They'll say, hey, we want to raise money because we want to hire more people and we want to expand. And then the investors who have the mandate to invest in these companies will give them money. So stock market is actually very simple concept. It's just a marketplace where you fund ideas and you fund entrepreneurs. The reason I'm very passionate about it is that Pakistan, and you guys, again, I'm sure that a lot of you will already know this. So there are two things. The first thing is Pakistan has a massive debt problem. We keep on complaining about it. We keep on reading about it. The reason why there's a debt problem is because we don't invest in companies. Equity market is small, debt market is huge. 80% of total financial assets are in debt. So equity, I think risk sharing or equity risk sharing, where you become shareholders in another company, is far much more powerful and much more fairer asset class than debt is. The second thing is that once you become shareholder in a company, you actually become stakeholder in the economy. हमने इस पे एक कैंपेन रन की थी. उस वक्त पाकिस्तान में ये शुगर का स्कैंडल चल रहा था कि जहांगीर तरीन ने बड़े पैसे बना लिए जी, शुगर प्राइसेस ऊपर चले गई है. उससे पहले पावर सेक्टर पे चल रहा था कि ये जी गवर्नमेंट ने फ्रॉड हुआ है, पावर सेक्टर को बहुत ज्यादा रिटर्न्स दिए हुए हैं. सो आई रैन अ कैंपेन सेइंग कंप्लेन ना करो, इन्वेस्ट करो. We complain because we are not stakeholders in those companies, but we can get the same return which those guys are getting by becoming shareholders in those businesses. And that's the reason why we don't complain when Apple, in America, people mostly don't complain when Apple comes up with a much more expensive phone, because a lot of people, 60% of the population invest in stocks, and a lot of them might have invested in Apple. So they're happy when Apple's profits goes up. They're happy when Tesla's profits go up because they benefit out of it by being investors. So I believe that when me and you and all of the people on these calls, when we invest in stocks, we'll become more responsible stakeholders in our economy, and we'll feel a part of the economy rather than being marginalized people who are only getting hurt from rising inflation. And secondly, debt as an asset class is hurting Pakistan. Equity is much fairer. When you guys start your businesses, you will be looking for equity, and the stock market is the best place to go to raise money from large institutions, banks, asset managers. Just to give you perspective, because a lot of you might not know this, every day there's $100 million of investment which is made in the stock market every day. $100 million sold and $100 million bought every day. So a lot of people think, oh, Pakistani stock market is very small. It is. but it's much bigger than any other um, way of raising money. So if you add, if you add all the VC funds in Pakistan, they are not probably not even 1% of the total money which is available for in the capital markets. Because who invests in the capital markets? All the banks, all the insurance companies, all the mutual funds, all the rich guys. So remember that, when you are starting your businesses, and once your business scales up, the best way of raising money is at the stock exchange. So now I'll go to the questions.
Sir,
um
if you allow us to ask a question first.
please do.
Yeah. So we have an upcoming round where participants actually partake in a market simulation. So what tips would you have so that they can better judge which stocks to invest
And
in?
of course, sir, which stocks to avoid as well.
Great question. So there are different style of investing. My favorite style of investing is for looking for catalysts. What will change? The price of a stock or the price of anything. Because let me give an example from real estate, because all of you, naturally we understand real estate much better, more, at least more intuitively. So let's say you're buying a house. Everybody has the information which you guys have. So if we all have the same information, our price estimates would be very similar. So which means that that house, which might be the same thing as a stock or the company, should be fairly valued, because we all have the same information. In finance, this is called the efficient market hypothesis, which says that all information which is available, everybody has that, and that's why the prices are always fair. Of course, active fund managers like we don't believe in efficient market hypothesis, because if you believe in efficient market hypothesis, then you will never do stock picking. You will only buy an ETF, which you can also do in Pakistan. Now there are 5 ETFs that you can buy, but passive investing believes every company is fairly valued because everybody has the same information. So what do you have to do then? You have to find where is the information edge which you can get, which other people don't have. Where is the mispricing? Where is the catalyst? So I'll give you an example. There was this company TRG, which is a tech company listed in Pakistan Stock Exchange. It's actually a VC fund. So, and they have 3 portfolio companies. Nobody in Pakistan understood the stock well because it was the only VC fund which was listed. So as you know, because it's a VC fund, it used to have stake in multiple companies, but the earnings was not reflected in the VC fund's numbers. So in March 2020, the stock was trading at 10 rupees. I published a report on this because I said it's a VC fund. You don't need to look at the fund itself. You need to look at the portfolio companies. It had 3 portfolio companies. Affinity, which is an AI company, IBEX, which was a call center, and eTeleCode, which was a telehealthcare company. And I said that the price of this company should not be 10 rupees. It should actually be 350 rupees. The stock went from 10 to 190. But then what happened? The CEO of the company, Zia Chishti, had a scandal. He had a court case against him that he sexually assaulted somebody. It was a very unfortunate thing. The stock came down from 180 to 77. So the market was saying this company will collapse. The CEO will go to jail. He has just done this massive, sexual assault. So what's the future of the business? So at that time, I analyzed 200 cases where the CEOs of companies had been pushed out because of Me Too or sexual harassment cases. And we found out that in most of the cases, the stock impact was only 6%. But here the company's share price was down 50%. So I said, this is an anomaly. This is mispricing. So what happened then is I told people to buy at 77, and now the stock is at 120. And I think it will go back again. So always look at mispricing. Always look at the information edge. What do you know which other people don't know? And what you know, is that true? If you're the only one who knows that, are you making the mistake, or have other people ignored that? So that's the key to always look at when looking for a stock. I like, secondly, I like growth companies. I like companies which take risk, which invest. In Pakistan, very few companies do that. Most companies tend to sit on their cash and to pay it out as dividends. So a lot of investors like that. They like to get dividends. So if you look at Engro, for example, they have $500 million in cash. They're not doing anything with that cash. I don't like them that much because they're not using their cash. In comparison, I would like a company like TPL Properties because it's an entrepreneurial story of a person who started with $50,000 and who made, you know, 5 listed companies and is now probably personally worth $100 million. So I like risk takers. I like companies who are taking risks and who are expanding rather than companies who are sitting on cash and are very conservative.
So just to build up on that question a little bit further for our participants, how do global and local events affect these stocks, and how should you improvise your strategy around them to just make benefit of Skill?
A great question. I gave you some example of like TRG. So there are two kinds of factors which can impact a stock. One, as you said, the global macro factors. For example, COVID hit and all the travel industry stopped and all the travel stocks plummeted. Vaccine came and that meant that the global economy started to grow again and oil prices started to shoot up because the global economy was now recovering. So there's a saying about the stock market that you cannot be a good investor if you are nothing else. So this is the beauty of this career, or the beauty of being a stock investor, is that you have to be an expert in everything. So for example, if you're investing in pharmaceutical industry, medicine, you need to be an expert in medicine because you need to know which drug will do better. If you're investing in construction industry, then you need to be an expert in that. So that's the beauty of this industry, this career, that you have to study about every single thing. And that's, you know, that's why I gave you the example that I did a double major and a minor in maths because I wanted to do everything. So that's exactly the whole beauty of capital markets, that you start learning about everything when you're investing in stocks. So for example, one area which I really like, and it's not relevant for Pakistan, but internationally it is, where I have invested, which is its mental health care. So I've invested in companies which are making medicines for using magic mushrooms and cannabis for mental health care. So that's every single thing, every global news, every local news, whether it's politics or whether that's economy, whether that's interest rates, whether that's, you know, idiosyncratic management decisions, will have an impact on the stock market, and the prices are always moving. So you have to keep on toes for and track all of them at all the time. So for most investors, if you're an investor, if once you get into a career for investing, you will always have Bloomberg on your phone, and you will always be looking at your phone tracking the news because because of that. It's a
So
full 24/7.
I can relate to that for a bit. So sir, further, we have a lot of questions from the different participants as well. Would you like us to read them out for you?
Great. You can choose and read. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a question by wait,
Huh.
yeah, which says that the approach about being well educated about something in order to buy the stocks limits the companies you can buy and sell it in. Is there any way around it?
Ah, so I used to have a boss when I worked in a hedge fund. He used to say that buy first and do research later. So there are people like that as well who only buy and sell based on technical analysis, i.e., how the stock price looks like, how the chart looks like. Well, which I suppose most of us do when we invest in crypto. We really don't do much research in terms of what we are investing. If it's going up, we buy it. If it's going down, we sell it. So there is a school of thought who believes in that all you have to look at is the share price. And that goes to the point which we mentioned earlier, which is efficient market hypothesis, which says that all the information is already priced in. So you don't have to really go and find information because that's already priced in. But I don't believe in that. I don't follow that. As I said, I like to find information edge, and if I don't have an information edge, I don't buy it. Um, Again, going back to the, if would you invest in a business if you didn't know about that business? Investing in stocks is exactly like that. You're investing in a business. Would you become shareholder in a company where you didn't like the CEO owner, where you didn't like the CEO? Probably not, right? So treat it exactly like that. People always say to me that we don't have enough information. So I get that often. I don't believe that's true. I think all of us have sufficient information because all of us, we interact with these companies on a daily basis. We know whether when we buy more Nestle products, we know I was just in Islamabad. So when I was driving from the airport to my home, you look left or right, there's construction happening on both sides. So I can see that construction activity is picking up, which means that cement companies must be doing well, or steel companies must be doing well. So we all do have information. And I gave you the example of power sector. People were whichever channel you put, there was complaints going on that itni corruption ho gayi, itne zyada returns de diye, 30% dollarized returns de diye power sector ko. Sugar sector mein बातें हो रही थी कि वो sugar prices इतनी ऊपर चली गई हैं. So we all know about it because we complain about it. We are users of these products. So I think we all do have information. For example, like if we are at Lums, we do know Sayyid Babar Ali. So do you want to be business partner with Sayyid Babar Ali? If you do, then he has 3 or 4 listed companies. You can become shareholder in his listed company and become a partner of his. So I think we all do know about it. We're just a bit scared of it. But the concept, because people who teach finance they use complicated terms, and they've made it look like a science. If you look at most great investors, none of them studied finance. None of them. You start with George Soros or Warren Buffett or Mark Mobius or Sir John Templeton. They were not finance PhDs or finance graduates. So all you need is a little bit of curiosity of looking around you and seeing what's doing well and what's not doing well.
So there was another question which I think is quite relevant to the discussion we're having. अब यहाँ पर risk की जहाँ पर बात आती है, how much capital do you think one should invest in stocks, given that it's really risky and or अक्सर knowledge भी नहीं होती लोगों के पास. So how much do you think we should invest?
So great question. I get it often. It's actually not risky. If you look at if you go on PSX website, they have a website called dps.psx, which is the data portal. Or if you go to K-Trade and get to our research portal and track stock prices, Karachi Stock Exchange on average has a return around 20% per annum. There is volatility. Like for example, this year, the index on average is flat. It's up only 1%. But that's because last year it was up 46%. So if you did a buy and hold strategy, because let's say if you invested in a good quality company and you held it, the returns you would have made on that would have been better. मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ कि आप सबको पता है, पाकिस्तान में जब हम लम्स में पढ़ते थे तो हम एक चीज बड़ा डिस्कस करते थे, एलीट कैप्चर. हम कहते थे कि यार यहाँ पे 20 फैमिलीज है जिनके पास सारी की सारी वेल्थ है, उनको बैरियर्स टू एंट्री है, सारे फायदे उनको होते हैं. which is true. Which, but by stock market, you can invest in the same 20 families. You can become their partners. And because their returns have been always growing up, um, you as an investor in those companies will also do well because you're becoming their partners. So even last 3 years, I know that, again, in the media, there's a lot of negativity about the state of economy. The profits of companies have gone up. They've not gone down. They've gone up. So it's actually not that risky. Trading is risky when you're buying and selling, because then you're speculating. Then you're not really investing in a business. You're just gambling. And gambling by definition is risky. And I don't encourage that. But investing and finding good quality companies is actually generates a very, very good return. So how much should you invest? I think generally 30% of somebody's portfolio should be in stocks. So that's, but on K trade you can start with like as little as 5,000 rupees. So yeah.
So okay, a delegate has something to say. He just sent something that the best way to gain information would be to have first-hand knowledge about people and their businesses. So he asked that as students, what advice would you give them to form better connection with groups and people around them?
So great question. I agree that I wrote a report 3 years ago that the best way of looking at a company is, but it's actually looking at the owners. So what I did was that I divided the companies listed in Pakistan Stock Exchange by who owns them. So I said, okay, this is Sayyid Babar Ali. Sayyid Babar Ali has these group of companies, and this is the background of Sayyid Babar Ali and his group, and this has been the performance of his group companies. And similarly, I did it for Hussein Dawood, Mia Mansha, um, Sagals, the Crescent Group. So there were 20 families who collectively owns around 50% of the companies which are listed on Karachi Stock Exchange. So my thesis was, and still is, that I like to back the founder. Um, and if I like the founder, then I will be more willing to invest in this company. And if I don't like the founder, then I will not invest in that company, regardless of what the company does. So that was my approach of doing it. Now, where to find information? Now, finding information now is very easy. Right? Come on, like, we all have Google and like Wikipedia, etc., etc. It's quite trivial. Um, so that's like, but if you want to go specific on companies in terms of looking at their annual reports and balance sheets and all of that is also available on the website. The Pakistan Stock Exchange has a data portal. It's called dps.psx.com.pk. And if you go there, you can find all kinds of information about any company which is listed. You can find similar information on K-Trade app as well on the research portal. It's for free, so you can go and get it. And yeah, but looking at, I think we all know who the 20 families are who own those companies, and if you Google, you'll probably find my report online as well.
Right. So on the flip side of discussion, how do you attract investors, and are young investors more interested in larger companies?
How do we attract investors? We attract them by engagement, by marketing, as people have asked on the chat as well, that very few, only 250,000 people in Pakistan invest, so less than 1% of the 0.1% of the population. So, and the main reason why they don't invest is because nobody ever told them about it. And the reason why nobody ever told them about it is because why should anybody tell them about it? If I just told you that the returns I can make on the stock market is 20% per annum. I just told you that TRG's share, had anybody invested in that 2 years ago, went from 10 rupees to 180 rupees. That's 18 times return, 18 times. So if I know that, why should I bother telling you about it to invest with 5,000 rupees? I can just put my own money in it. And so that's the problem in Pakistan, that most brokers who technically is whose job it is to educate people to invest, they start investing themselves because it's more lucrative. Why should they tell other people? And because they start investing themselves, there's a conflict of interest, and they never bother teaching other people. So that's why very few people in Pakistan invest. And at K-Trade, our mission is to tell people about this, and that's why we do a lot of activities. We have taken a TV show on PTV, so every day 5 to 6 p.m. on PTV News there's our TV show called Baat Karobar Ki. I write for Dawn. We sponsor activities. We spend a lot on marketing, on Google marketing and Facebook marketing. We have launched KSB Varsity, which is an online university. More than 3,000 students completed a course on that. It's for free. So that's what we do to educate people. We 2 weeks ago we had a large investor summit in Karachi, in which more than 500 people attended. So yeah, so those are the activities which we do.
So essentially, whenever we think of investing, the stock markets comes to mind, the different indices come to mind. So I have a question here: are stocks the only way of investment?
So on there are ETFs as well. So what is a stock? A stock is a share of a company. If let's say again, let's talk intuitively because it's important to understand it. Again, you all want to be entrepreneurs. This is a NAMD Entrepreneurship Society as event. अगर आपने अपने बिजनेस के लिए पैसा रेज करना है, आपके पास सिर्फ दो तरीके पैसा रेज करने के लिए, या आप डेट लोन लोगे किसी से, जैसे डेट कहते हैं, या आप किसी से कहोगे कि मुझे पैसे दे दो, मेरा पार्टनर बन जाओ. पार्टनर बनने के लिए जब उसको आप शेयर्स देते हो, उसको स्टॉक कहते हैं. सो किसी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करने के दो ही तरीके होते हैं, या आप उसको लोन दे दो जिसको डेट बोलते हैं, या आप उसको इक्विटी दे दो जिसको शेयर्स या स्टॉक्स बोलते हैं. सो स्टॉक मार्केट के अंदर ये दोनों चीजें ट्रेड होती है, डेट भी ट्रेड होता है और स्टॉक्स भी ट्रेड होते हैं. और जैसा Amar, Hashir, one of the I don't know who is Amar and which one is Hashir, but one of you said that indices is an average of various stocks. It's just a basket. So you can also invest in a basket of companies if you say that, and that's called an ETF. So you say, okay, I don't know which company to invest in, but I can invest in a basket of companies. So those are the three things in which you can invest. You can invest in a stock, you can invest in the debt, which is loan, or you can invest in a basket of companies.
Okay. Sir, earlier you mentioned something about catalyst. So could you further emphasize on what you meant by that and how it actually affects the investment procedure?
हाँ बिल्कुल. So catalyst होता है कि let's say मेरे पास एक information है, मेरे ख्याल में इस कंपनी के वर्थ, इस कंपनी का प्रॉफिट ऊपर ज्यादा हो जाएगा. बाकियों को ये बात नहीं पता, मुझे पता है. मेरा ख्याल है कि the company will, let's say, win a new contract because they have a new technology which will help them win a new contract. So I have information which other people don't, or I have a guess which other people don't. Catalyst is what will make other people realize and agree with me. So that's what a catalyst means, that it catalyzes my thesis. My thesis was, let's say again, let me give you example of real estate because it's easy. जब मैं लम्स में पढ़ता था, लम्स के पीछे सारा जंगल था. लम्स यहाँ पे कोई DHA phase 6-5 नहीं था. Lums was the end of DHA और जंगल था दोनों साइडों पर. So let's say if somebody bought real estate over there, he bought it thinking कि यहाँ पे लम्स बनाए, लाहौर की expansion इस साइड पे ज्यादा होगी, तो future में इसकी price increase हो जाएगी. He believes that something will change, i.e. people will move over here, which will lead to greater demand for the same product, same real estate. That's a misinformation. That's a difference in opinion, and catalyst is what helps it reach that level. Let's say लम्स बन गया तो सबको पता है कि यार सब गाड़ियां इधर जा रही है, तो अब प्राइसेस ऊपर चलेंगे. एक और एग्जांपल दे दो, इस्लामाबाद में एक नया एयरपोर्ट बना. जब नया एयरपोर्ट बना तो उसके आसपास की सारी रियल एस्टेट की वैल्यू ऊपर चली गई. So that building of the new airport was a catalyst which led the price to go up. और फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने TRG की एग्जांपल दी, तो TRG में जब जिया चिश्ती का स्कैंडल आया, स्टॉक नीचे जा रहा था, मैंने रिपोर्ट लिखी कि जिया चिश्ती जब छोड़ देगा कंपनी So it's a personal issue of the Ashishti, not of the company, and the stock will go back up again. So the catalyst was, that was my opinion. The catalyst was that when he left the company, that was the catalyst.
So you mentioned that the markets are quite volatile. So I had a question. Given the volatile market conditions within Pakistan, how does one go about managing their portfolio to minimize loss and maximize profit?
Great question. So there are two school of thoughts. And this is not just true for Pakistan, this is true for every country. One school of thought is diversification. So if you guys read Ray Dalio and उसकी book के principles, Ray Dalio का fundamental rule है diversification. कहता है मुझे नहीं पता कि क्या चीज सही है क्या गलत हो क्या होगा क्योंकि दुनिया अनसर्टन है तो वो कहते हैं पोर्टफोलियो आपके पास हो जिसमें गोल्ड भी हो डिफरेंट तरह के स्टॉक्स हो never put all your eggs in one basket. So that's one way of reducing your risk. The other school of thought is what Warren Buffett believes in. वो कहते हैं कि यार आप वही चीज लो जिस पे आपने इतना ज्यादा रिसर्च की भी है कि आपको पता है कि वो चीज बेहतर है तो अगर आपको इतनी ज्यादा आपके पास इंफॉर्मेशन है if you know that you know you'll make more profit in one company, why would you buy 5 companies? So but Warren Buffett, he can do that because he's Warren Buffett, so he doesn't need to diversify. But for normal people, diversification is the best way.
Okay, so there's also a question that speculation can affect stock prices a lot. So how do you avoid that?
You don't avoid that, and then speculation is a part of our life. Like that's when we say that we have an opinion on something, that's speculation, right? Like we say that this thing should be worth more than what it is right now. That I'm speculating that in the future this company will do better. Let's say you launch your startup, you're speculating that your startup will make a lot of money. That speculation of yours or that conviction is based on some conviction which you have. Either that conviction is on you guys as founders, say, okay, these guys are smart people, I want to back them because they'll do really well. Or it's on the overall market that, these guys are not that smart, but doesn't matter. There's massive opportunity for what they're selling. So the speculation per se is good. You always speculate. Otherwise, if you don't have speculate, then we won't have any opinion. Not having speculation means कि आप अपना स्टार्टअप कर रहे हो और आप मेरे पास आ रहे हो मैं इंडिफरेंट हूं मैं कह रहा हूं मुझे नहीं पता यार मुझे नहीं पता कि तुम कर सकते हो कि नहीं कर सकते मुझे नहीं पता तुम्हारा बिजनेस चल सकता है कि नहीं चल सकता मुझे नहीं पता तुम प्रॉफिट बनाओगे नहीं बनाओगे मैं क्यों इन्वेस्ट करूं मुझे तो पता ही नहीं है कुछ स्पेक्यूलेट करूंगा तो ओपिनियन बनाऊंगा मगर how can we do smart speculation? That's by doing more research. I really know the founders. I know that they are smart guys. I know they're hard workers. I know they're trustworthy guys. I know they're honest people. I'm willing to back them. Or I know their industry. I know Pakistan has a massive opportunity in what they're doing. I know they'll do well. I know I've done enough work to have conviction. How do you do enough work? Either you meet somebody asked that question, how do we even meet? So either you go and meet the founders. Pakistan में और दुनिया भर में जब कंपनी लिस्टेड होती है every quarter the management is required to do an analyst call, an investor call, an annual general meeting. So you go and attend those meetings, hear what the company is saying. Secondly, do competitor analysis. Talk to their competitors. If you have launched a business and I want to do due diligence on you, I will talk to your competitors and say, hey, do you think these guys can do better? Talk to their customers. These guys are saying their product is really good. Talk to the competitors, whether the product is really good or not. So do primary research. So competitor analysis. There's something called Porter's 5 Forces, which is an excellent framework of looking whether the company can make good profits. So in that, you look at competitors analysis. Do you have a moat? Is your product really good that nobody else will be able to compete with you? Is the market big enough? Is there demand for it? Is that demand growing or is that demand decreasing? So things like that. That's the analysis you do to make a smart speculation.
So it's so relevant to the round we're going to have. What are the different ratios and indexes one can refer to in order to better judge the overall market and then specific stocks as well?
I look at two things. One is called PE ratio, price to earnings ratio, where you divide the price of a stock, the mark, with the profits it makes. So it tells you if whether the price is cheap relative to the earnings. If a company is making a lot of profits and its price is low, then that means that the stock is cheap. So that's one ratio. The second ratio I really look at is growth. How quickly is the company growing? So those are the two ratios. So the third ratio you can, which is a combination of these two, is price earnings divided by growth, which is called a PEG ratio. Price earnings divided by growth. So those are the three ratios I would recommend. Some people also look at book value, price to book value. I don't.
Uh, Sir, are there any other tips that you would like to give to our delegates for navigating the stock market?
Yes. So I might be repeating myself, but to summarize, the first thing is always look at the quality of the founder, how motivated the founder is, how honest the founder is. All of these things get captured in corporate governance. Um, Secondly, look at the global macro. Um, what are the structural trends? For example, we all know that technology is now a structural trend. So look at technology companies in Pakistan. We know real estate. A lot of people have mentioned real estate. Did you know that there are real estate companies listed as well? TPL Properties, Packages has Packages Mall, Lucky has Lucky Mall. So there are construction companies which are listed. So look at the structural trend and back the companies which are in markets which are growing. COVID has hit. Healthcare is important. Look at pharmaceutical companies. How are they doing? So that's the third thing. Then also do look at the share price, because that will tell you whether the market is believing in what you are saying. For example, you might think that this is a great industry and great founder, but the stock might be going down. So that will help you ask the question that what am I missing? Am I missing something? Am I wrong? So question yourself. Doubt is a good thing. Maybe you'll be contrarian and right. You'll find out that the market is not factoring in something, and then you look for the catalyst. So for example, let me give you this example that a lot of people don't know that TPL Property is the first company in Pakistan which is a REIT, which has got an approval to set up a REIT in Dubai, in UAE. So they are raising money offshore to build properties in Pakistan. So for those of you who have been